Alright, so I talked a bit about dipping and pouring in the bowl in my last video, and I thought I would just go ahead and show you guys how to do it since I'm here glazing anyways. So I have my bowl, and it's prepped just like I prepped the mug, and I'm going to fill it with the glaze. Now, for bowls and other open objects, I really like a good thick coating of glaze on the inside. Not so much that it's going to crack, but I want it to have color, right? So I filled that up, and I'm just going to rotate this around just a bit. Now I'm about ready to pour. You see I was bringing it up, now I go fast. Ah, that one little section right there. So if you have a section that you get a streak like I did, take your finger, dip it in, and you just quickly pat it on it, and that'll take care of it. So you can see, oh you can't, maybe you can. Focus! See how that's fairly even on the interior there? Good job me, right? And if there's any little air bubbles that happen, you can just take your finger, dip it in the glaze, and just do a little spot filling in. This will all melt out in the firing. I'm not worried about this at all. Okay, so now doing the outside. I have two choices with a bowl. This bowl it's not that big, so honestly, I can put the whole thing in easily. I don't have to do some crazy turn upside down and pour the glaze all around it. But I do want to grab the sponge and clean off my hand because I don't want to be touching the pot with glazy hands. Alright, so for this I'm going to hold the outside rim like such, like this. And I'm going to dip it down in to just before my fingers touch it. So I'm going to dip it. That's it. That's all. That's all it gets. So you can see this top bit right here is not glazed, and I will get to that. Alright, the inside is dry. I'm just going to hang it. And I'm going to wipe the drippy bits with the sponge. And I will go back and check all the bottoms before I load it in the kiln. You know, you want to be careful that there's no glaze in the bottom of your pots. We know this, right? Before you load it into the kiln, because if there is, it will stick and sadness will happen. Wow, that one sucked it up fast. This is basically dry already. I'm impressed. So normally I have a bucket of clean water sitting on the counter by where I load my pots, and I just go back and re-wipe everything right before I put it in. Alright, so now to do this part that's not glazed. We gotta glaze it, it's gotta happen. So I'm gonna turn, I'm gonna hold it with my fingers spread wide like this on both sides. I'm gonna grip it. And now if you have really big hands, you might be able to just grip the whole bottom, and I can do that on small bowls, but not on this one. So turn it upside down, keep gripping, and evenly dip it in. And I'm just going to rotate the bowl a bit to make sure there's this little drop. You'll see what I mean when you're glazing that you get. And so I rotate it around to have that drop kind of swirl around a little bit so that it spreads that glaze out. And I've got a little area over here I've got to touch up with my finger where there's a bit of, my fingers were a little damp, but that's okay. That's it. So this bowl I will set to dry. And again, before I load it in the kiln, I'll check it, make sure there is no glaze in the bottom, and I'll make sure there's no areas that need to be dabbed or touched up with any glaze. Now, one thing I didn't talk about, I'm just going to sit this here. Don't do that. Don't sit your pots on your kiln when you're glazing. That's very bad practice, but it's closest and I need to use it. So one thing I didn't mention is when you are glazing things like mugs and stuff, you have this little space where the handles join, and often you'll get little air bubbles, and the glaze will kind of, there'll be an air bubble and it'll prevent the glaze from getting in. So what happens is when the glaze melts, you get a bare spot, like a little pinhole bare spot. And that's not a glaze fault, and it's not a pot fault. It's nothing wrong with what you've done. All it is the glaze just didn't get there, didn't get on that spot. So you've got a couple choices. You can use a needle tool and dip it in your glaze and then kind of funnel it down in, or you can do the same thing with your finger and you just get it in so it drops. Got to get enough. There. See how it dropped on? And then blow it through. There's a little bit on this side too, so I'm going to do the same thing. Get enough. There, gotcha this time, didn't I? Where are you going? Nowhere. All right, so that's it. So I filled in, and you can actually see, if you look down in there, down in where that handle meets the side of the pot, there's a little bit of glaze built up, but that's okay. This will all melt and be fine. And I did bump the rim. Uh-oh, that happens. So all I'm gonna do is take my finger, dip it in, and just dot. Ta-da! I don't know if you guys saw that because I was back too far. Dot, dot, that's it. Just a little dot, that's all. And I'm actually gonna do another layer, I think, on the rim. Just dip it down in. Just because I like to do a double dip on the rims of my pots. That's just a thing I do. That's it. That's it. Ta-da! So we glazed the bowl, we glazed the mug, and we fixed some spots, solved a little bit of glaze issues, and I think it was pretty good. Alright guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like me, follow me on social media, hang out, comments, all the good stuff. Catch you later. Bye.